I think we're all incredibly excited by the fact that we made it happen.
We've worked with 100 young people, all of whom have been inspired by this.
It's a huge and ambitious thing to take on. This is a very unique project.
We've created poems which will be in situ for eternity, really.
Simon's work is universally loved.
There's something quite primitive and exciting about that.
Ilkley Literature Festival wanted to do something very special to celebrate the London Olympics in 2012 as part of what people know as the Cultural Olympiad, which was, wouldn't it be fantastic if we invited Simon Armitage to write an amazing poem and then to in some way unite it with the iconic landscape of Ilkley Moor. As these things go, the bid had changed a little. It had become 6 poems, and which would stretch all the way from Marsden, where Simon was born and brought up, to Ilkley, the home of Ilkley Literature Festival. And the festival is never content to do a small project. So not only by this stage did we have Simon Armitage writing an amazing poem, 6 groups of young writers who were going to go up onto the moors with Simon and respond to the moor, his stimulation and inspiration, and write their own work. We then decided that we would, on top of that, have 6 groups of young dancers and filmmakers, and we would pass the young people's poems, once they were written, over to them and ask them to then interpret them in their own way.
Part of the reason of bringing writers' groups together with other art forms, dance or film, was not only to reinterpret the poems into another art form, but also to introduce the writers to another art form. So we did have the writing squad working with dancers at Northern Contemporary Dance School and joining in with the dance pieces.
Up here the wind batters, hunchback steady, withers my lips, cradles me skull cap cold. The wind wants my bones.
There was a really good quote I heard the other day. Martin Carter, Caribbean poetry. So poets are like nuggets. He calls them like nuggets, like gold nuggets. And I think that's really good. Because poetry is like words that are just like magnified. Like you can like a lot of stuff shines out of words. So it's sort of the art of that, like the art of making words and making them become bigger than they are. They become ideas. Like the poem I've just read of these dancers now that they're just like doing a whole dance out of, you sort of do it, you have different energy when you write it as well, you know what I mean? You know, it sort of comes out in your body when you do it, but it's all up here.
Why don't you just take a walk outside, live outside of the confines of the box, let your troubles stop, drop, step like you're stepping into a new zone, one unknown yet known.
It's not something you experience you know, quite regularly or quite occasionally, being from where I'm from.
I mean, I did it once in school, like, you know, way back when, but with Stanza Stones, we've now been up here, this is the 2nd time coming up here, and I mean, each time I love it because my life is very much caught up in the day-to-day grind, and so coming to a group like this, you know, you see different walks of life, and you see that it's not just about that, it's about finding what you're passionate about, and I think going somewhere as isolated as the moors really helps you to do that.
In some ways, when you look over the horizon and you'll see quite a big looming kind of grand hill, that is kind of awe-inspiring. I wouldn't say intimidating, but it's very kind of awe-inspiring.
Funnily enough, I've been looking for this for the last couple of weeks, so it's just been ideal. Now, if I'd known we were walking, I would have put the right gear on and I would be sitting up here for hours. Like a single tree embedded in a field, the wavy grass hangs around to help ease the loneliness it feels.
It wasn't bleak. I wouldn't say it was bleak. I think it was more a different perspective.
I like the fact that it was kind of bleak and a little bit damp and miserable today, because nature isn't pristine, nature isn't clean and tidy, nature is raw.
Bringing in a whole different group, and especially filmmakers who aren't necessarily like writers and they don't see things like writers, it'll be interesting to see their take on things, so I think interesting is probably the word I use for that.
I really like the country. It's just nice to have hills and trees, and at the moment, because it's autumn, that's really nice. We've been collecting stock images and ideas and inspiration from Ilkley Moors, and it's sort of inspiration for later on. We've got to film a response to the poems that other people have written.
Kind of research into their inspiration, because
Yeah.
I mean, if you're interpreting their poem, I guess the way you can kind of create a good interpretation is understanding what they were inspired by in the first place. So you kind of realise how broad an interpretation you can have on something like the Moors.
The mystic ones whose answers will take your fear away. You destroyed the world and you knew it. Now you beg for retribution. The dumb thing about getting up here was getting down afterwards.
Always harder.
Moor, in an area that people like to call Ilkley Moor, but is probably more correctly Burley Moor. This is the fifth out of six, the set of six Stanza Stones. Each one we've tried to find a distinctive location peculiar to the character and the flavour of Simon's writing for that particular poem. What we were looking for was the wettest area of moor that we could find, because this poem is puddle. So the puddle stone is just out of the edge of a puddle rather than in it.
Yes, it's very satisfying. I was just saying to somebody earlier on today that I think when we started this project it seemed completely implausible, but every time one of these stones goes in it's more and more real, and it's quite hard to take it in sometimes.
Oh, it's really exciting. It's a great moment. Yeah, it feels like a party, really. There's been so many people up here. I'm really happy with the way we've managed to place them as well. I like the angle they're set in relation to each other. It's a fabulous spot for them.
Well, the whole thing's been incredibly collaborative. You know, we've all brought our own skills and our own experience to the project. But there have been lots of points where those things have had to overlap. You know, just how a sort of a poem can be created in an environment. So we mean these stones to have a kind of pulling power to draw people up here, and to go off and write their own things and have their own thoughts. This one was odd today because it's the only one that's lying horizontally in the ground, and they do look like two gravestones. So I feel as if I've been at a sort of funeral service or something today.
To be honest, I haven't actually thought that far ahead. It's not very far away. I sort of don't want to think about the end of it. It's been such fun.
My feelings have undergone quite a lot of changes during the project. It's easy to let the whole size of the project get lost in the detail, but once we started going up on the moors and seeing what it meant to the young people and seeing the poems carved into the stones there and thinking, these are here forever, and that is a real privilege to have been part of that.
If I can get these trainers cleaned, then yes, I'm going back up.
I think the elements will probably have the final say. I mean, people have been saying to me, you know, isn't it odd writing for a kind of posterity? And it is, because what you're doing really is writing for people from the future. We don't know what those people are or what they'll look like.
Well, it was lovely because we've just had a walker coming along and immediately coming over and looking at them, reading the poem. commenting on it. And I think if that's, you know, if people can enjoy doing that for the next few hundred years, I think that would be a wonderful thing to leave behind.
Because the really exciting thing is that this project is really only just starting. Because from now on, people from all over Yorkshire, from all over the country, can get out there and they can walk to the Stones and they can walk that trail. And I have a picture in my head of a family setting off to do one of those walks and following that trail guide and finding the stone and enjoying the poem and reading it out to each other. And that's a really wonderful picture to carry with you.
And these moors have been part of a continual dialogue with the heavens for tens of thousands of years. And I suppose I'm just proud, and I feel the responsibility as well of having taken part in that conversation. So as long as they keep speaking in some way, then I'll be happy. But you know, I'm not going to be around to check on it. I'll get my royalties either.